to the cloud. All right, so we are recording, as my husband would say. Sharing the screen. So we can now make form templates in Docusign. And I know that was a pretty big one. I know we had a team meeting not too long ago, and that was, I think it was when we talked about our family reunion recap. And quite a few of you had said, I just wish Docusign had templates. And I am going to fix that for you today. So feel free, I'm going to try to go a little slow, just so that way if you want to play with it while I'm showing you how to do it, I don't know if you have like a second device that you can play on, but go ahead and do that. So that way, if you get stuck or have a question, I'm here to help you with that. So of course, when you're in Command to access your Docusign, you go into Opportunities. And then you're going to go into, I like to be in my boards to get into Docusign. It's just kind of the way that I get in there. I'm going to click Documents, and I'm going to click Go to Transaction. And you'll see here, Nathan Knight has kindly agreed to be kind of my guinea pig. So we're pretending to do a listing for Nathan Knight. He's only paying me 1% commission on a $100,000 house. So it's a lot of work for a little bit of money, but it'll get the training done. So once you're in that opportunity under Documents, you just click Go to Transaction. And some of this you might already know, but I feel like it's easiest if I go through every step. So that way you're not lost on where I'm at. Then if you go to My Docs, which is towards the top, oops, hold on, let me let Julie and everyone in. Carrie, you keep popping up. Welcome, everyone. Just so you are aware, we are recording, so just oh, there's Ed. So right now I'm just in Docusign rooms to get everybody up to speed, and I went into the My Docs section. Now I'm going to click on Form Templates. And you can see I've been experimenting because I didn't want to do this for the first time with all of you here. So I already created a couple, and these are going to be agent specific. So I can't create a template for the whole office. So you do have to go in and create all of your own templates. And that's just because it's specific to you, right? Like it's your phone number, your license number, that kind of thing. So then you're going to go ahead and you're going to hit Create Form Template. And under Select Library, I just go to PAR. And just for today's example, let's say we're going to do a listing contract. All right. I'm going to click Use. Now we're spinning. So then, of course, you're going to fill this in. Oops, Mark's coming. How about that? Zoom stops me, so that's good when people are coming in. I have to turn that setting up. But you will just put in your info here. Right, whatever info that you want to have auto-populate every time you do one of these forms. Actually, I have a little cheat sheet here because I don't remember our brokerage license number, and I probably should. But I don't.
065950.
You're like, I know it. And actually, where is it on? I guess you just put it, I'll put it up here.
So Brittany, I have a question. So you have to be in an opportunity. You have to create an opportunity to start your templates.
You could just sign into Docusign directly and then go into My Forms. Like if you're in the Rooms section of Docusign, so you don't have to go through opportunities. I just like to access it that way because I know my Docusign's connected, but you don't have to.
Okay.
Yep, you can sign directly into Docusign. Right, so I don't have to fill out this whole thing, but so you would just fill in whatever you know is going to be the same every time. You know, maybe your broker fee is the same every time, right? And then maybe there's certain boxes that you always check or fill out. You can do whatever that is, that's the same every single time on this form. And then you're just going to click save and close.
So I have a quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
We received an offer the other day, and the contract had come through from Docusign, and there were certain parts of it that were highlighted, and it was obvious the agent, that was like a remind me not to skip this part, as you scroll through.
Okay.
Is that something that's always highlighted, or is that something she did as a personal reminder?
I almost think that's something she did as a personal reminder.
All right. I kind of figured because it was like weird. It
Yeah.
wasn't full paragraphs. It was just like a couple of choice words.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I think that was just her.
Well, I think she tried to make parts yellow. So it was like, as you scroll through, you're like, oh, stop here.
Oh my
I
goodness.
have a question.
Oh,
Can you-
sure.
Can you group these together? Like in Loop, I have a listing template that has all my listing documents in it. And then I have a buyer's template.
Yes, I think you
in all the documents.
I believe you can. And I can actually look into that for you specifically. And I could always do like a screen share video on how to do that. I think it's the same, like you can add these into those templates that you have. These are just to get them ready and filled out, but then you can organize them how you normally organize your templates. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pretend that I'm adding one to a room. So I'm going to send Nathan some forms to sign for me. Docusign form. So again, I'm just coming in here as if I'm adding, oops, well, I don't want him to. Oh, that's because I'm in the wrong library. So you're just adding the form as normal. And then the key part is when you're hovering over it, you're going to right click. And then you click apply form template. And you'll see that my listing contract template is pulling up. Make sure you check here, click apply. And then a little frozen. I think it's applying it right now. That's what it's doing. And then when I click it, it should be filled out with all that info that I had auto-populated. So you'll see the info that I had saved in the template, and whatever you decide to add, like broker's fees and all that, should be there for you. So I think that'll be a huge time saver. I know I had done that in Loop. So that way, every time I did a buyer's agency contract, I wasn't constantly typing my name, my phone number, my email, my broker fee, our brokerage license. Now you can just pre-fill. You're gonna have to take the time to make the template perform, but then you can apply that form template to any one of every time you go into a room and add documents like you normally do, you can just apply that form template then. Any questions on that piece of it?
Hey, Brittany.
Hey, how are you?
Good, ma'am. Hey, so each form has to be done individually, or you just do the one and it's automatic, everything else is self-populated?
You do have to do each form individually.
Okay.
And you can do one form if you want to multiple times. So like if you have an agreement of sale and you want to structure it a couple different ways, you can do that. But I think one per form would probably be plenty for a time saver. But you do have to do it per form.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. Anybody else? I know we had a couple folks arrive late. No worries. This is being recorded. So I'll make sure to email out this recording to everyone who maybe popped in a little late.
Do you know if the like sign now function is like if I'm ready to send this to Nate, but I want to sign it first?
None of that should have been affected. So you should, once you apply that form template, you should be able to go in and then, add in the person specific info, like you're saying, okay, Nate, we're going to list your home for $100,000. Oops. I always like to put in commas. I don't like that you can't put in commas, but that's just a personal preference. But you should be able to go through then and, have the form completed and signed as normal.
But I mean, for me to sign it as an agent,
Oh,
email to me.
yes, you do still have to email it to you to sign.
Well, see, that's a big pain.
And that's good to know. So anytime you have suggestions like that, definitely pass them my way, because that's something that I can talk about on my regional tech calls. Another thing that you can do is, I don't know if anybody's aware of Keller Cloud ideas. But if you have an idea and you're like, man, I really wish Command did this, you can come to ideas.kw.com, and I actually have this saved in my bookmarks because I'm in here a lot now. You can either search an idea to see if the idea you have is already thought of, and then you can vote on it. Or you can create your own idea, post it, and then let us all know, maybe post it in the KW Central PA group, get us to all vote on it. And then these are things that KW is actually looking at to then implement in Command. But if you think of things, definitely let me know, because I do have weekly, sometimes bi-weekly tech calls. And these are all things that they take into consideration. And actually, while I have you, does everybody know about KW Answers?
No.
Answers.kw.com. I have this also saved as a bookmark, partially because I'm still very much in the learning process. But if you type in like Docusign data, oops, I spelled Docusign wrong.
All right, I'm gonna send this over.
And then you click create a static data form template.
Because I gotta head out the dog.
There is actually a whole tutorial on how to do this. So maybe you, after this class today, you're like, wait, where do I go? What button do I click? You can go to this link, which was also in the emails I sent you, but you can come here and it'll show you exactly how to do it. This is great for a lot of anything that's Command related. They have videos in here. There's really great answers to basic Command questions. This has been my best friend since I started this role. So I would definitely bookmark KW Answers as well as Keller Cloud Ideas. The next thing is, well, actually, before I do that, does anybody else have any other questions? This is really helpful.
What about the seller disclosure?
Oh no, Carrie, you echoed. What was that?
What about the seller disclosure? Filling in, like, my biggest thing is I always have my clients do the seller disclosures by hand because I can't send it to them in Command or in Docusign and like fill in all of the details. You know what I mean?
Oh. So
Can you hear me?
want it, I can. So you want them to like just fill in the boxes?
Yeah, and then be able to write in everything. So am I gonna have to train Docusign, or has anyone ever done that?
I've sent it to my client to fill out online, and it was the biggest pain in the butt ever because I literally had to, and I might have just been doing it wrong. There might be an easier way, but I went in and I did optional check boxes where they would have to click, and text boxes everywhere so that may have been ridiculous, but that was the only way that I could figure out for them to do it online.
Yeah, I did that one time and it took me like over an hour and I said never again. So I always
Exactly.
print it out and drop it off. So I was hoping that you would have some magical answer for us.
Well,
Answers.kw.com.
that is
I love it.
I love that. Okay.
Carrie, I think you might be able to do it through zip forms.
I've never used zip forms once in my life.
Okay.
We're gonna play with it.
That's why I was going to ask Brittany, is there an advantage to having our templates set up in Docusign versus zip forms?
Just type SPD.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm so used to having these saved.
All right, I lied.
Type in disclosure, maybe.
For me, I think I am all about less.
There it is.
There we go. For me, I'm all about less is more, right? So I'm not going to tell you, if you love zip forms and you are comfortable with your process, I'm a big component of, if it's working for you and you're not frustrated by it, you don't have to change it, right? But I'm definitely a less is more person. I like everything to be in one spot, less channels that I have to go through. So that would be my pro, is that if you can get your templates in Docusign, it's just one less step of having to bring it from zip forms to Docusign to then send out for signature.
Yeah, I always used .loop until I came to KW, and then I had to like teach myself this. And that's my biggest thing, is the seller disclosure.
Seller disclosure. Well, I am going to be on a Docusign meeting next week. So I will definitely ask about this. I almost think you would have to create it as a template, but then again, then you have to input each text box.
Yeah, I was hoping that you were going to send us a template with it already done and save my like a million hours of work.
Well, you got it. Let me table that. Like, let me take that to Docusign next week. And if I can do, because that might be something that I could do for the Market Center, because I know there's some templates that you can. The ones that we went over today, I can't do for everybody because everybody's are going to be different. But
Yeah.
seller disclosure, that's just check boxes. So,
And then obviously they could write in each line if they needed to.
yeah.
I think that would save everybody and everybody's clients so much time.
I love that.
And you can read it. 'Cause a lot of the
Exactly.
times you can't read their handwriting.
Yes. Yeah, there's so many times I would have to like email list agents and I'm like, I know you're getting 5,000 phone calls about this listing right now, but I have this question on the seller disclosure because I legit can't read it. And that's so like, you feel bad and it's just more time. So this is very helpful. Is there any other Docusign issues that you're having that would be helpful for me to bring to my meeting?
I have a question. Like
Sure.
right now in .loop, once we put our buyers and sellers' name in, we can autofill documents. Do we have to type that information in each time for each document?
It's if you input all of their information when you add them to the room. So the more complete you have their info when you add them to a room, it's supposed to auto-populate on each form for you.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. That's a great question.
Does any of that pull from command?
What's that?
Like when we start if you start your room from command, from an opportunity in command that obviously has contacts assigned to it, does Docusign pull their contact information automatically, or do I have to now also put it in Docusign?
That's a great question that I don't know the answer to.
Well, when I
I will get back to you on that.
when I am in my documents and I'm creating an opportunity, if you fill out your details, it will auto-populate into the forms that you choose. And if you change one of the forms, it changes it throughout the documents. Because sometimes when I put in the detail, if it's kind of hard to tell where you're supposed to put each thing. So when you go into the document itself and it looks funny and I move it, it'll move it on the other forms, if that helps.
Okay, that is helpful. So you're saying it does auto-populate from command, because I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't think I put Nathan's info, like, because I did this last night to get him ready. And I don't remember putting his email in the DocuSign room contact info.
If you would have put it on any of those documents, it would have put them on all of the
On
documents.
all of them. That makes sense. So then you're only inputting it one time.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
I'm-
with these templates, the templates, I can see where you're showing in My Documents on how to enter the information and keep that as a template. But for the DocuSign piece of it, like, can I go in and create templates for an agreement of sale of where they should be putting their signature, so I don't have to go in each time and say, I need you to sign here, 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 and here? I can just choose a template to do that?
So these templates that they released today was mainly just for information. So
Okay.
as far as inputting signatures, there is, I believe, another way to do that. Let me just pull that up here. I type DocuSign templates.
I'm always nervous that their template's not going to do it the same way I do it. So I've been,
So you've just been like,
I
because
go in every single time.
Yeah, I remember seeing videos on that where they were able to do templates for signatures and initials.
Okay. Because that would be a huge time saver when you're going through a contract because right now I have to make all the inspection things optional, one side or the other. So that just takes time to throw in all those initials.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you can do that. Because I'm all about saving everybody time, because I know how crazy it can be when you have multiple buyers and they all want to write. Trying to see.
Especially when Sue's not in the office to help me.
I miss you too, Ed.
When Sue has to quarantine so she can hold her grandbaby.
I know.
Watch out, Brittany, Ed's coming for you.
I got her lined up.
I remember seeing a video on this. You know what? YouTube is my best friend. Your tech trainer uses YouTube for a good bit of her training. I think Marty Miller had.
Hey, Brittany, while you're doing that, I use zip forms, and I go to the forms. And the first form you go to forms. Par forms is a form you can use to pre-fill everything and add it.
On zip forms, yep.
Yep.
Hey, if you're comfortable with that, Ed, and you're okay with that extra step of just having to upload it to DocuSign, I'm all about what's efficient for you.
Well, I think this would be more efficient this way.
But I am pretty
You
sure.
can. Zip Forms is actually also connected to DocuSign. So
Yeah.
when you go in there, you can click e-sign and it'll go right to DocuSign too.
It does.
Oh, wow.
The only thing is, Mona, that they're not connected up with you can't get a hold of DocuSign if it's late at night, you have a problem, and zip forms will not help you at all. You have to get, zip forms will not.
Yeah.
Well, I think I found the video. Do you guys want to watch it quick? Because we do have time before I talk about buyer education.
Sure.
I'm all about going. I just want to, whatever's going to work for you guys, I want to make it easier. We're going to back up. So Marty Miller, I don't know if any of you have watched Marty Miller's 66-day challenge in command, But if command is something that you want to get more comfortable with, first off, I will do one-on-ones. So if you're interested in a one-on-one, maybe you have a specific area that you want to work on, email me, I'll send you the link on how to sign up for that. 2, I will be doing these Tech Thursdays every Thursday. Next Thursday, Nate has actually asked that I do a listing pamphlet in command to show everybody how to do that. So I'll do that next Thursday. But each Thursday, I'll definitely cover something different that's in command. But also Marty Millers' 66-day challenge, his videos are phenomenal, and most of them are under 20 minutes. Some of the KW command videos are like over an hour. They're super informational. They're very helpful. But when you're trying to sneak education in throughout your day in between appointments, I think Marty Millers are great. So we're going to go ahead. This is the video. I remember watching it. He did talk about templates with signatures. So let's.
And this is the side of Docusign, if you will, that you're brought into. If that ever happens and you want to get back into your rooms, you're just going to do the exact same thing, just switch to rooms. Okay. So we're going to dive into template and template making. The first thing we're going to do is click on templates here at the very top. And then obviously we need to create a new template. So I can click on here, create your first, or I can come over here to new if I already have some created. So let's click on new template, and I want to create one. And that brings us into this first screen. So let's say I'm going to do general.
Brittany, could you full screen this?
Oh, I sure can.
Buyers and sellers buyer version. So this is a document that has to be signed on all of our transactions here at KW Platinum in Houston. And so this is the title of the document. I'm going to come down and I have this document saved on my computer. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to find it. Here it is, general information, and notice to buyers and sellers. Now I'm putting this in as a buyer's version because I'm going to put in signatures for the buyers. I may come back and create one for a seller version, and then I can drop in the signatures of the sellers. So we'll start that off. Next, we want to come down and we have to add recipients. And you can see the role is actually left blank. So I'm going to put in a buyer 1. And I don't know who that buyer is or their email. So I'm just going to put in buyer 1 right now. That's going to be their name. I can add a recipient and I can put in buyer 2. And then I can come down and click on add recipient. And that's going to be broker, associate, / buyer's agent, whatever that looks like, right? So we have the 3 different people that need to sign this particular document put in. I can pre-template a message here. I'm fine with what this message says. If I want to pre-template an email message, I can do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and come to next. And it's going to bring up this document. So you can see, this is basically just a Texas document about all the things that could or possibly might go wrong. Just make sure that you understand everything about the buying, selling process, if you will. So up here at the top left-hand side, you can see we have those 3 parties. It's buyer 1, buyer 2, and broker associate. So I want to click on broker associate, and I want to drop in the broker's printed name. So that shows up every single time. I don't have to retype that every time I bring in that document. So I can type in Keller Williams Platinum Realty and click off of it. I'm going to then click on this bottom right dot and come on. There it goes. Scroll over so that fits all in one line. And then I'm going to drop in my signature, right? I'm the broker's associate, so I can bring over my signature. And there's enough room for that. And then I'm going to bring over date signed for my date signed. In addition, we've got the buyers. So let's click on buyer 1 up here at the top. We're going to drag in their signature and their date signed. And we'll do the same for buyer 2. So I'm going to switch from buyer 1 to buyer 2 here at the top left. I'm going to drop in that signature and that date signed. Now, honestly, all this really did is save me from having to write out Keller Williams Platinum Realty every single time. So in this particular document, it's not a huge time save, and yet, every minute counts. However, I'll show you the next one we're going to do is a document with a few more blanks that we can auto-populate automatically and save us even more time. So I click on Save and Close, and that's going to create that template. So now I have a template called General Information to Buyers and Sellers Buyer Version. I'm also going to do the Broker Notice to Buyer Tenant. So another document that we have to have filled out for all of our buyer transactions here in Texas. And so this one's going to be the Broker Notice to Buyer Tenant. Right, again, I have this document saved on my computer, so I can click on Upload. I can find that document and I'm going to open it. This is a document that needs to be filled out by Buyer 1 and by Buyer 2. And also by the broker associate or buyer's agent. Okay, so next I've got all those roles filled in. Again, I don't need to really do much with the email subject or message. I can click on next.
Passive income and wholesaling don't go together, right? Wrong.
Is this helping at all?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so keep going.
Yes.
Got it.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to set your wholesaling bit.
And then I can come in, right? Here's the broker notice to buyer tenant. Now you can see there are a few more lines that need to be filled in on this one. So I can drop in the date, right? That's going to be auto brought in. Broker sales agent name, I'm going to bring in a text field. And I'm actually going to fill in my name there. Signature, I'm going to go ahead and drag over the signature. Now it's a little tall, so I can click on this top right-hand square, kind of shrink it down a little bit and move it over so that there's room to see everything. It's going to ask for company, so I can just put in a text box there so that it always says Keller Williams Platinum Realty. And again, it's going to be a little big, so I can click on it and drag it over so that it fits all on that one line. And then it asks for the address. So again, I'm kind of going in, these are the things that are going to be pre-populated now on every form. So 19708 Northwest Freeway Suite. Well, it would help if I could spell, right? 2800 Houston, Texas. All right. Again, that's going to be a big box, so let's pull that all the way over so it fits on that line. And then finally, it's going to ask for phone number, so I'll drop in my phone number. Now, the nice thing is this information is going to show up automatically every time. You can see how long this took me just doing this right now. And now in the future, I won't have to worry about it because it's automatically going to fill in. Next, it's going to ask for, oh, you know what I just did? Look at that. So here's something not to do. And I'm just showing you in reality, right? Sometimes mistakes happen. I just did all of these fields as buyer 1. I don't want all these fields as buyer 1. I actually want them as the broker associate agent. So I can actually click on the field and I can come over and change the recipient name. So again, guys, mistakes happen. If this happens to you while you're filling out your template, it's pretty easy. Come over here and just change who the recipient of each one of these is going to be so that I get that correct. So broker associate. And then again, broker associate. All right, perfect. So now I need my buyer 1's name. So I'm going to bring over tenant, buyer tenant name, and drop that there. It's asking for the signature, and I can drop the signature there. It's asking for buyer 2's information now, so I can drag in their name, buyer tenant name. I'm going to drag over their signature. And then it asks for their address and phone number. I have two choices. I can actually have the client fill that in, or I can fill that in, and it's up to me to decide. So generally I have their address and phone number, and I want to make sure it gets filled in. So I'm just going to put in a text box. I'm actually going to leave it blank though, because that gives me the opportunity to fill it out when that document comes to me in email. So I'm going to leave both of these text boxes blank. So we have that kind of filled out, right? So now I can click on Save and Close. I've just created 2 templates, one for the broker notice to buyer tenant, one for general information to buyers and sellers, buyer version. So I'm going to click on the face here in the top right. I'm going to switch back over to my rooms account. And I have a kind of a test room here created from one of my test opportunities, but let's just say, for example, this was the room that you were in. It is a buyer document. So you're going to come in here. Let's click on edit. And I want, let's see, it has seller 1, seller 2, listing agent 2. Now we're getting into buyers. So let's just say again, this was Donald Duck and Donald at duck.com. And then we've got Daffy. And again, you're just filling this in when you're in your room. I'm just doing this for you so you can actually see what it looks like when it comes together. And then buyer agent 1, I'm going to go ahead and put in my name, although I may have to put this in a second time when we go to the documents. So at kw.com. All right, so I'll click on save that. And then it's asking for the information on the actual details of the opportunity. So we're just going to click on envelopes. And let's say we wanted to send off those particular 2 documents to get signed. So we would want to start a new envelope. And here's where you can bring in your templates. Okay, so I can click on use a template. And I can say I want the broker notice to buyer tenant, and I want the general information to buyers and sellers, buyer's version. I add those 2, and you'll see it's going to bring in those 2 templates into my envelope. I can title this envelope however I want. I'm going to add the recipients, pre-tagged roles. And now you can see broker associate, and my name is available for recipients. And then I've got buyer 1. And it looks like, even though I put that in the details, because this is a specific template, I'm just going to put buyer agent to define and buyer 2, buyer agent to define. And we're going to click on add selected. And then you can see I have now the ability to, I don't need the buyer agent, so I can click on X there. And then buyer 1 was Donald Duck, and his email was donald@duck.com. And this is Daffy Duck and Daffy@duck.com, right? So I've got all that information put in. Now the next step, and we'll see the work that pays off. We're going to get into those documents, and you'll see the pre-templated information that we have already put in should show up as long as we did our templates correct. So now you can see here is that information, general information to notice to buyers and sellers. We come down to the bottom. Typically, I would have had to write in Keller Williams Platinum Realty. That's already put in there. I've already assigned my signature and date because you can see my information here. Donald is already assigned to buyer 1, and Daffy is already assigned to buyer 2. Same thing when we come down to broker notice. Here's the date signed. All of this information is already filled out for me. And you can see, because these 2 last boxes are assigned to me, I can come in, I can actually add their text, right? Because I might not have known their address, and because their address is going to change from client to client, you can't actually fill this in, you know, I don't know, Quack, Florida, whatever. You can't fill this out in advance. So I could drop that in. That information is now filled in, and I could put in their phone number, and boom, I have that field populated as well. And I can click on send. It's going to send it off. It'll send it to me for a signature for broker sales associate. It'll send it to Donald for his signature and Daffy for her signatures. And the thing is, I didn't have to type all of this in myself. Now, again, this is just 3 lines of text. You can imagine, as you continue to build out your templates, many of us have documents where you know, there may be 3, 4, 10, 12 different lines that need to be pre-populated with the same information every time. And that'll help us on building out templates. So obviously not necessarily required, but just now an option available for you.
I'm gonna stop share for a minute. So what do you all think about that? Is that, as I watched that, I felt like that's something we could do for the seller disclosure.
My question with that is, with the seller's disclosure, most of the time it's a PDF document because I've already gotten, or I've downloaded it from the MLS. So is that going to work for a PDF document because it's not a document that we've created, so to speak.
I think on the buy side, you're gonna have to do the initials every time. But I'm wondering for listing documents, if you saved the seller disclosure as a listing template,
Yeah.
you would have to assign every single box, which is gonna take some time. But then you could save that as a template to use every time. Julie, do you think that would be doable for your team?
Say that one more time.
Oh, I was just saying, if you were to make that template for a seller disclosure for the list side, I know that would take a tremendous amount of time, but once you got the template done, do you think that would work?
I mean, if the template will hold like check boxes and text boxes.
I don't know if you noticed, but on his video, I did see on the left-hand corner, it had text, just plain text fields as well as checkbox fields as options.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the one that asked that question, so.
Oh, okay. Okay. So sorry.
I
So
imagine that would work if you took the time. I think it was Carrie said it took her like an hour to get them all
okay.
set the first time she did it. So, I mean, if you took an hour one time now that you can make templates,
Right.
it might be worth that hour. I mean, we still right now use .loop because, and honestly, this step is huge, but the next thing would, I know I shouldn't say this out loud, but I see documents
it's helpful for me.
behalf. So
what's that?
I said, I shouldn't say this out loud, but I sometimes sign documents on Julie's behalf if she's forgotten a signature somewhere.
Okay.
For me to have to like email it to her to sign when my job is to save her time, not send her emails for signatures.
Right.
For us, it's just, that's a huge block.
So your favorite thing is where you can just sign now.
Just assign her signature and sign now.
Got it. I'm writing this down.
And
So I did
resolved, we could get over the rest.
Got it. No, that's super helpful because I totally understand that. I totally
right now it's worth the $15 a month for .loop.
Okay.
So Brittany, I did a total virtual listing last year during COVID, and they were remote as well. And I saved all of the templates for my listing in the in the Docusign template box, and then uploaded them for each new listing. And I just did that same thing for the seller side, and saved all of those. Like she said, you make the template once and you just do a text box for every single thing and a click box.
Yeah.
And it holds, so yeah, it is a long process, but it holds true for everything going through.
Okay. And Carrie, I know you need like the time, so I will definitely look and see if, because it's just text boxes and check boxes, I will see if there's a way that I could create that for the whole market center. So I will look into that because I get what you all are saying is like, it is an hour of time for that one form.
Brittany, is there a way I can share that form to you, my blank template that I've already done?
I bet you could send it to me as a buyer or something. Like if you added me to that, to a room, to your blank forms, you probably could.
Why don't I just do that?
Yeah, send it to me and I'll play with it. Because if I can save you all each an hour of time, that would be totally worth it for me.
Okay.
Well, we have about 15 minutes. So let me show you this buyer education. Oh, hold on. Sorry, my husband's calling me. Here we go. We'll share again. Now, all of your feedback is super, super beneficial, and I'm very happy that you guys are all willing to share with me, because again, this is all stuff that I can, if I can't fix it right now, I can at least take it somewhere and see what I can do with it. So it's very helpful. But, so real quick, I'll go over smart plans, just a very specific smart plan that I had. I'm not going to say, I don't want to take full credit for creating it. I took one that was in the library. So if you go to smart plans and you go to library, there's like 2,000 smart plans here, which I think can be a little overwhelming. But I was introduced to one called Buyer Education, and I thought it was really great. It was made by Connor Tuck, and it really goes through each step one by one of what it takes to buy a house. Like, what does that process look like? And I was thinking, man, that would be perfect to send to someone who's like, I'm thinking about buying a house. You know, and I've tossed around the idea of getting pre-approved. I'm just not sure if I'm ready to pull the trigger. You could add that smart plan to someone like that. Maybe a buyer that you just signed, even if you go over the buying process with them at that initial appointment, you can't over-educate, right? Because you're giving them so much information in a small amount of time. They're not going to be able to retain every step. So you can sign them up to the smart plan, and it will go over, you know, again, getting pre-approved, what's the lender going to look at? It goes over home inspections, what to expect there, the appraisal, what to expect there. But I actually I took Connor Tuck's and I made it a little bit more specific to Central PA. So his was for New Jersey. So there was stuff in there that was like, about like attorney review, and we don't need to do that. So I took that stuff out and made it a little bit better for our end. So the one with, I think, yes, this is the one that I want. I also added a step for winning offers in a competitive market, because right now that's what we're in, right? So a lot of times these buyer education templates talk about seller help and like, oh, you don't have enough money for closing. That's okay. We can get you seller help. And I'm sitting here reading this going, but that's not really viable right now in today's market, right? So as you scroll through here, you can see everything that I've typed out. So you can change this. So if there's something you don't like you can go in and edit it. But I've also included some fun design templates that will be sent throughout. This is, I think it's a 2-week long education. But if I click this, we'll preview it. I created some that also include these buyer checklists. So they'll get a checklist in the beginning, so that way they can see like, okay, these are all the steps to buying a home. Then there's a couple regular emails in the smart plan, but then as they get to a major checkpoint, you know, about like this one is about writing the offer, they'll see that checkbox. So they're like, okay, this is what we've gone over so far, and this is what, you know, Carrie is still going to have to send me. She's going to send me steps on all these other checklist items. But so I did have a whole email in here, and you can see it says how to compete in a seller's market. And it talks about, you know, things like the buyer paying for seller's transfer tax or offering to pay part of the seller's broker fee. It talks about reduced inspections or shorter inspection periods, escalation clauses, adding closing insurance or a seller's home warranty, offering shorter closing periods. I put in 8 ideas on how buyers can win in a competitive market. And I made it kind of blanket. So I didn't say, you know, in a seller's market, I just said, if you're in a competing offer situation, so maybe this way, this plan could work for years to come. Maybe it's not a seller's market anymore and it's a buyer's market, but there's just one house that has competing offers on it. It'll kind of work for any market situation. I talk about escrow deposits, when to turn that in, the appraisal, what to expect on closing day. So, you know, you go to the title company's office, like all those little details for the buyer to kind of let them be aware of what to expect. I do one on home ownership, and this is actually probably my favorite email, where it kind of sets them up in the very beginning. So you're talking to them about buyer education before they've written an offer. And this email actually talks about Awesome. We got through all these steps in the last 2 weeks, right? You have a blueprint for your milestone ahead. And there's a section that kind of talks about you can take a trip, right? And you can go at it blind without GPS, or you can have a map and know where you're heading, know what stops you're going to take along the way, and you're going to be their GPS. You're going to be their guide, helping them, inform them of the market, informing them of their choices along the way. But ultimately, they're in the driver's seat and they're the ones that get to make the decisions. And then it goes on to talk about you're going to be there for them after closing. So, your relationship doesn't end at the closing table. You're there from start to finish and then beyond as their home ownership advisor. If they have questions after closing, they need a contractor, you are always their go-to. So it's kind of setting that stage of, I'm your realtor for life, not just for this transaction, which is why I think that's super important, because I'm sure a lot of you, you prospect to your past clients, and your past clients can be a huge referral source for you. If you want to check out that smart plan a little bit more, you would go to smart plans and you go to library. The easiest way I think to find it, because there are, like I said, there's over 2,000 in the smart plan library, you can actually filter by author. And if you just type my name, Brittany Giles, I'm gonna move this, click filter, you'll see, you're supposed to see my published smart plans in the library, but these are definitely not mine, so that didn't work. Hold on, stay tuned. Normally this works. Oh, it's because I didn't hit the checkbox. I'm your tech trainer, folks. But you'll find it here, buyer education plus competing offer strategies. This first one doesn't have the design template. So if that's a little too much for you, you don't have to do that one. If you like the one with the checklist, you have this one. And then I also have one for buyer under contract items needed. That's just something that you can add a smart plan to somebody who just went under contract. And it'll tell them like where to send the earnest deposit, who do you want to use as your inspector, your attorney, and you can modify that to have your recommended lenders and attorneys in there. To add someone to a smart plan, you just go to your contacts. I use my husband. And if I go to smart plans, I can add, oops. Oh no, sorry. I went a little too far. If I go to smart plans, I can add him from my smart plan. So just for an example, buyer post-closing, you see the little add sign. I can search by name and I can just add Ben to the smart plan. And you can have it start ahead of time. So maybe you're meeting your buyer on Friday. You want to add them to the smart plan starting that Monday after you meet with them. You can change the date to start whenever you want, or you can just have it start now. Do you have any questions about the buyer education smart plan? We have a couple minutes left, or anything we've gone over today, or even technology in general, just something that you wish that I would go over in the future. I am going to do this every Thursday at 11 a.m. So all your feedback is super helpful for me. I'm going to go with silence is a no. Any last words?
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it, Ed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Brittany, I did
great.
think of one question.
Sure.
So if we fill out those templates where we watched Marty Miller and he had like buyer 1, buyer 2, on the chance that we only have one buyer, I'm assuming that maybe those boxes won't show up for buyer 2.
There was one point in the video where at the end he went to send it and he had to assign roles, like he was able to assign broker to Marty Miller and then buyer 1 to Donald Duck. And then there was a buyer agent. He goes, oh, I don't need the buyer agent. And he was able to delete that field.
Okay.
So you should be able to just, instead of assigning buyer 2, you would just delete it.
Okay. Thank you.
And maybe what I'll do, I'll go ahead, if you would all find it helpful, I can include this recording and a link to just that video, so that way you don't have to watch the whole video if you want that link. All right, anything else? Mike Braddock, you got anything for me? Oh, no. There
Okay,
you
I
go.
had to find the mute button. Unfortunately, I've been really distracted. I wasn't able to catch a lot of it.
That's okay.
Some of the stuff in the beginning, like with the Docusign and the zip forms, I'm doing it the old way. I'm trying to figure out how to integrate it into command. But I'm going to go back and watch the video later on since you recorded, and I appreciate you doing that.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate all of you coming. I was so worried. I was like, I'm gonna have my first tech training class and no one's gonna show up.
Well, Brittany, your link was in your email. I thought it was in the homepage, regular agent portal. Is this the same link every week now?
It's gonna be the same link, and I think Nate is gonna add a special box for me.
Okay.
I should probably confirm with him, but I'm gonna ask him to add a special tech trainer box. So that way I can just have my own link. So if there happens to be another training at the same time, I can keep my Zoom open and going for everyone else.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, no
Thank you.
problem.
I learned so much.
Thank you. Glad
Thanks,
to
Brittany.
help.
Very helpful.
I'll see you next Thursday.
You drew more people than happy hour, so good job.
If only I could hand out wine to everyone.
No one's stopping you.
I did joke with Anthony today. I was like, if I could provide lunch every Thursday, I promise you people would come. Like, we always come if there's free food.
True.
Well, first part of that is we got to get everybody back in the office, coming in, right?
Yep. We got to get them coming in. All right. Well, thank you.